Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. I see Ken Colbert's already on hustling at the gate and ready to go. How you doing tonight, Ken? Well, anyway, yet another Friday's rolled around. It's been a pretty good week. I actually got some shop time. I got 2 projects on the table. I think I told y'all last week that about the time I got the Cardinal kit out and looked at it, I started cutting the first piece on it, and a box shows up at the door that's as big as I am, and turns out there was a P40 ARF from Rodak in it that a friend of mine had sent me as a gift, and that was quite a surprise. So now I got 2 projects on the table, and you know, I gotten all geared up to work on the Cardinal, and thinking, you know, this is going to be a several month build, and the ARF shows up, and every time I walk in the shop now, I gravitate towards the ARF. So I've started putting it together, and I think it's going to be a quickie. I'm not going to do anything fancy to it. I usually think about putting carbon fiber CF, carbon fiber control rods on it and redoing the bell crank lead outs, but this is the nicest ARF I've ever seen. It's probably it's a universe better than my old Oriental from about 3 years ago. This one's got nicely done lead outs with heavy wire triple passed through the crimps and actually crimped, it looks like, with a proper tool. So no need to work on that. It's a 4-inch bell crank too, and I've been anxious to try one. I've been using 3 inches for so long, and maybe a 4-inch will help me tune some of my bouncy bottoms pulling out, and be interested to see how that goes. But none of that needs doing. The only thing I've done is slot the flaps for real hinges instead of CA hinges. And I called a buddy of mine, or I didn't call him, I PM'd him on Stunt Hanger, and he's a combat guy come stunt over the recent couple of years, and with his combat reflexes, he's been pasting me at Stunt, and I can't catch him, but he flew a P40 just like this one the last 2 times that I've flown against him, and it flies really well. So do my buddy Wayne's. He's got a couple of them, including the prototype Bob Zambelli built back when Rodak was developing it, and they all fly so good. So I'm happy to have one now. But anyway, I PM'd Mike and asked him, you know, details about what he might have done to it. And he said, Rusty, I built that thing in about 4 hours. I'm just a combat hack. I don't have time for all that crap. And I believe he probably did build it in 4 hours. And so that made me take a look at what I was doing and decide, you know what? It's an ARF. It's meant to fly. Let's just slap the sucker together and see how it goes. I will use real hinges, but other than that, it's going to be box stock. I will probably either sleeve or make a CF rod for the long rod. I hate metal rods for the long rod from the flap to the elevator, but hell, maybe I'll have this thing going in another week or 2 and get out there and start trimming it. Okay, Ken, we'll see you when you get back. And let's see. Okay, we got 3 viewers other than Ken out there. So yeah, he's taking a break. Hopefully he'll sign on with us. There's somebody that said they've been trying to get in touch with me via Stunt Hanger. I mean, via Facebook, and can't seem to connect. And it's either Ken or Terry Bishop. I can't remember. Maybe it's somebody else, but I think it's one of those 2 guys. And since Monday, when they said that, I have not looked at Facebook. So that gives you an idea how often I look at it, but I need to try and hook up with some people. I've got a list of people a yard long that have applied for friendship, and I don't know who most of them are. I know maybe, you know, more people know my name, but I'm wondering if Facebook, does anybody know, does Facebook automatically send out friend requests without your permission? Is that what's happening, that I'm getting peppered with all these friend requests from control line guys? I think they are. I don't recognize all of them as control line guys, but that's odd. I need to get back on Facebook and figure things out, but I just don't have a hell of a lot of time for it. And since I've been spending a couple of nights a week doing this show, you know, I even have less time to get on. I'd like to get on Stunt Hanger and look at some of Sparky's videos, but whenever I'm on, I get wrapped up in reading people's posts, and I always enjoy doing that. Oh, Wally's with us. What's going on, buddy? Well, he's still getting hooked up. And Wally, can you hear me? Oh, wait a minute. Let me make, yeah, I don't think my sound is turned way up. I can barely hear you. Let me see where my volume, oh yeah, I'm down too. Okay, volume up. And while we're on tonight, I might fiddle with my microphone because I've been listening to, just checking some of the YouTube archives of these Hangouts, and I sound fuzzier than y'all do. And sometimes I find it hard to understand what I'm saying, and I wonder if I need to get in the equalizer and crisp it up a little bit. What does it sound like on your end? Do I sound clear? Can you hear? You can hear my S's and P's pop, and yeah. Okay, good. Maybe it's just my speakers and set up. So I just want to make sure I was clear enough for everybody that's listening.
I can hear some feedback, and I have my speaker that I usually use turned off, so the only thing I have on for me is my headset.
Okay. So, yeah, Ken says I sound good to him too, so that's good. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to be fuzzy and understandable. So it's Friday. What'd you do all week since we last met?
Myself, I haven't done a whole lot of anything. I went and run my RC car last night and burned it up. So I gotta have to get a new cylinder sleeve and piston for that thing.
Would you get a lean run?
Well, it's one of them little Traxxas cars, and I haven't. In fact, I've hardly even run it. This first time I even run it for about a year, and it was running good, but I just run it full blast across some grass, and apparently it was a little too long because it died about the end where I was getting on the dirt. And anyway, I went over and got it and filled it full of fuel and had a hell of a time starting it. So we changed the glow plug in it, and it was still the same thing. Then we got it going, and you know, it just wasn't running right. You had to run it like full blast to keep it going. So that's, you know, as well, my experience with control line engines, that thing's toast.
Yeah, you think the compression's shot in it?
You know, I don't know, because after that, I just let it sit and watch the other guys run theirs. And then it was getting cold. It was windy, and the sun was going down. It was getting cold. So we just loaded up and come back to the house.
Well, it's probably really easy to overheat those engines in a car, because you don't have a lot of airflow inside of there, do you?
No, they've got a great big old heat sink on them that's about an inch tall, that you got to go way down in there to get to the glow plug. But they're just not made to run balls out like that for very long. You know, they're made to go on and off the throttle.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just run it a little too long on that grass. The problem is the grass was so tall, I was spinning out all the way, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, my buddy, he's over there yelling at me, get off there, get off there. And anyway, it was too late. I didn't even hear him.
Yeah.
And my grandson, he was running his. I mean, we had, between the three of us, we had 4 cars out there. 2 of them come back broke.
Oh, so man.
Those things are money suckers. I mean, to tell you what, I'd rather fly airplanes.
What sort of nitro percentage are you running in those?
You can run 20 or 30, and they suggest 20%, you know, a 10% synthetic, and then the other 10 caster, or run your 18 to 20 caster. This is a blend mix at 20%. So when this gallon here's gone, I'll probably go to 30%. But this fuel, it's pretty much the same mix I run on my RC or my control line engine. So it's easy to go back and forth.
The more nitro you've got, the cooler it should run. Isn't that right? So you could probably up the nitro a little.
Yeah, it'll help, but it also helps a little bit in performance at this high elevation.
Yeah.
But that's an advantage of running the 20%, because I'm running the 20% caster in my control line engines. And unless it's an 049, you know, that half A's you run 30% there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's I run. I got 25 and 35, and I prefer the 35. It's easy to start, runs a whole lot better.
You running a straight caster, or you got a blend?
I got both, but I prefer the blend. If I've got an old engine that is a little bit loose, then I'll go with the full straight caster. But for you know, if I get a new one and start it out, I'll start it out on 50/50 oil.
Right on.
It's the same thing with the Foxes. You know, if you've got an old blackened Fox, you probably ought to run it on all caster, because that's the way it grew up, unless it's getting too much varnish. Because if you put synthetic in there, it'll wash out the varnish and kill your compression. But now if you raise the engine from a baby on 50/50, it'll build up a beneficial coating of varnish, and the synthetic will keep it from getting over varnished, and so it develops a good equilibrium like that. That's my feeling about it. I don't know if that's been scientifically proven, but I think that's what it seems like to me.
I don't know, but I think you're right, because I've talked to several people, and that's exactly what they say. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you can run like these guys, if they're running ball bearings, some of them are just going synthetic. If they're running a bushing engine, then they put some caster in it.
Right. Yeah, because the ball bearings need less cooling, and they're, you know, freer moving, lower friction, so you can go with the pure synthetic.
Yeah,
I've never run anything on pure synthetic though.
I haven't either. I've never run a full synthetic. I probably won't either, because I even buy from Brodak plain Jane caster, you know, in the bottle, to where if I feel like I need a little more caster, you know, in a bottle, I can just pour some right in there.
Yeah. If I'm just spiking a bottle like that, I just get the drugstore caster and the Rexall brand in the little blue bottles, and I think that's fine for spiking it, but I don't believe that's good enough for if you were mixing a gallon of fuel. I think you'd want to get racing caster. It's been a little more refined, degummed, I think they say. I assume that's probably a better thing to use for a higher volume. But the drugstore caster, I hadn't had any problems with that, except for I have noticed it'll separate. Sometimes if it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, you can see the caster sitting on the bottom of the jug. And I didn't realize that until I ran a quart jug out and looked at the bottom, and there was a quarter inch of castor oil stuck to the bottom of the jug.
Wow.
That's what I'll do with SIG. If I run out of Power Master 1022, which is my go-to fuel, and if I have to go get a quart of SIG or a gallon of SIG, then it's 20% oil, and I'll usually just pour a couple of glugs of drugstore caster in it. I don't know if it makes a bit of difference or not, but I feel better after I do it. So
yeah, and I think that's some of it too. We do some of this, and at least we we feel better. It seems to
Yeah.
ease our mind some, you know. So,
Do you ever use any anti-foaming agent?
you know, I haven't. All
I
these
generally,
fuels that I get seems like it's got an anti-foaming blend stuff in it, you know.
yeah. If I take a jug of Power Master, a gallon of Power Master, and shake it up real hard and then take the cap off, I can see foam standing on top. And so sometimes I'll take the cap off of to prevent overdosing it and spray some. Well, everybody says Armor All, and they say Armor All has changed and may or may not be the right stuff now. But I've got a 30-year-old bottle of Son of a Gun, which is the same type stuff. And so I spritz the cap with Son of a Gun, flip it over, screw it back down, shake it up, take the top off, and there's no foam at all on top of it. I'm just talking one, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
They even make that Son of a Gun anymore? I can't think of seeing that for a long while.
like I said, that bottle's 30, 35 years old, and I haven't needed any since then, so I don't know if they do.
I'm trying to remember. That was our dragster car guy. No, it wasn't either. It was Circle Track. Wasn't it Richard Petty that endorsed that, you know, in their commercial to... Seemed like it was Richard Petty.
STP was his main.
Oh, it was STP then. Then it was somebody else that was doing the Son of a Gun then.
Yeah, probably so. I don't know. But yeah.
Like I say, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
I don't really think I've ever had a serious problem with foaming anyway. Not if the tank's mounted correctly and padded and screwed down. And some people bolt them straight to the fuselage without padding, and they don't have any real trouble either, unless you've got a weak nose and it might shake a little too much, or you know, the wrong kind of mount. I had my tank zip tied on one day, and the runs kept changing on me, and I thought, and Bob actually suggested I should get those zip ties off and screw the thing down like it's supposed to be. So that might have been what that was all about.
Well, my thinking on tank mounts is, you know, like you say, if you got one screwed solid to the fuselage, they say that it shouldn't touch the fuselage anywhere.
Right.
But I've had better luck with them being solid than I have cushioned, believe it or not.
Yeah, if it's too cushioned, then it can, I guess, develop a harmonic and start shaking more than the actual fuselage is shaking.
Yeah, but you know, if you have an airplane like a profile airplane, or if you've got a cowed model, you can, you know, when you do a bench run, usually you can watch your gas line as it's, you know, picking up gas, bringing it to your carb.
Yeah.
Of course, for us, it's Venturi, but you can watch that suction. If it looks nice and solid, you know, you shouldn't have any trouble, because your airplane shouldn't have really any more vibration there on a bench than it is going to fly.
Don't mistake crossover bubbles from the uniflow vent, because you will see bubbles training through it, but that's not foam. That's just a little crossover, and I don't know if that happens when the plane's in flight or not, with centrifugal force pulling it in directions. But I've learned not to sweat over that. But if you do see a lot of it, you might want to take the end cap off and make sure the uniflow opening's not too close to the pickup.
Yeah, gotcha.
But a lot of people, I believe, when they're, you know, just learning about it, will mistake those bubbles for needing to anti-foam it, but the two are completely different problems.
Yeah, like I say, that's two different things. But you know, I can't think that I've ever had too much of a foaming problem, because my problem is, say for instance, when I'm flying my yak, Now, that airplane has a Inya 35 on it, and it's got the control line Venturi that's molded to the case. It comes out shallow and then goes out into a bell, with the needle valve assembly going through the bottom of it. Well,
Right.
that's all good, but my tank that I have, the fuel line, goes around the bottom of your engine, then comes up and hits the pickup is in the middle of the tank. So it's right in behind the cylinder,
Yeah.
which is okay too. But the problem that I have, and it's not a uniflow, it's a regular, overflow tube down, fill up on the top, the way we used to get tanks for years and years and years. But anyway, that airplane, I tried to run that engine with some pressure to run a uniflow tank on it. I couldn't get it to work. I run a pressure fitting right out of the back of the center of the case. There's a hole there you can drill, tap, and then put a pressure fitting there. Well, I did that, made me a pressure tank, and run some uniflow on that. It didn't seem to run worth a crap. So I went back to my other tank, which it does good until you do like an outside loop really quick, or you do like try to do a square, bottom of a square really quick. It'll cut out on you, and I thought maybe it was a tank positioning that needed to be raised, but flying it inverted, the thing flies real good inverted, and the engine runs really nice inverted. So that tells me that the engine and the tank, the tank is pretty close to what it should be as far as, the position of the tank.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I've done is I've learned to, not try to fly that so radical and just live with it. And that's what I do. And it's still blast to fly that airplane.
You know what I think that is sometimes is when you're doing a hard outside corner is that the centrifugal force plus gravity forces, especially if you got an engine with a little bit lower compression, forces fuel to slide past the cylinder and wet the glow plug when you're doing maneuvers like that. And that might be where that burp comes from.
That you could be right on that, because these snurled engines, they have so much fuel in the bottom of the case.
Yeah.
They got a lot of room down there for fuel. And like say, when you hit that really hard, maybe that's forcing some of that up into the top of the head.
I believe
to
it
where
is.
It's doing a washout, like you're saying.
Yeah. I've got a PD-051 on my baby flight streak, and it's gotten to where it flies perfectly upright, and it'll do as hard of an inside loop as you want. But as soon as you start trying to do outsides, it cuts out and then usually cuts back on. But I'm thinking that piston cylinder is just worn out, and it's letting fuel slide down the sides of the piston and wet the element.
That could be too, because that it's old, and I have run, that thing's got a lot of flights on it. That engine does. Still starts up easy and stuff, so usually when you get an engine that won't start, it's harder than hell to start. That's when you start looking at an engine being wore out. It just doesn't, like I say, it doesn't have the compression it used to have, but this one seems to start really good. So, but I think you're right though. That's something I really haven't thought about, but that you could definitely be right on that fuel thing to where it's washing that,
You could try thickening the fuel with some more castor and see if that slows it down as the viscosity rises. It might be less likely to slide down the cylinder like that.
I might mix me up about 6 ounces and run it a time or two with that. It's only got a 3-ounce tank on it.
Ken's asking us how much castor we add to a gallon. Do you remember right offhand?
If I remember right, when I picked out the percentage when I did it, it was seemed like it was like 8 ounces, maybe 9 ounces, 8 or 9 ounces right in there for a gallon of fuel. It depends. It depends on what you want when you get done.
Yeah.
You know,
How much are you increasing it by 8 ounces?
yeah, I
What,
wouldn't go over that. That's for sure.
how much percentage of oil does that increase the mixture with 8 ounces of castor to a
Oh, I don't
gallon?
know. I'd have to sit down and do some
Yeah.
math on that. But
Well, I got it written down, but it's out in the shop, so I don't know.
yeah,
Ken, if I think about it next time I'm out in the shop, I'll look, and I probably wrote it on my table or something. That's a great place to take permanent notes. It's write it on my tabletop. I'll see if I can find out for you.
but I remember one time there was no fuel around, and the only fuel I could get was 100%. What do you call it? Synthetic.
Yeah,
And the synthetic, if I remember right, was 15%. So what I did is I ordered some castor from Brodak, and when I got it, it was 16. I'm pretty sure it was 8, because when I got it, it was a 16 ouncer, and I mixed half of it. And I thought 8 ounces to that, and I don't remember what the percentage of that in a gallon was. You'd have to get your calculator out. But I thought that 8 ounces is going to be enough with the synthetic that I'll have pretty good motor runs, because most of the motors what I run are Foxes. My son usually runs OSs.
yeah.
But it got me through the rest of the summer to where it worked fine. You know, now I've got probably 4.5 gallons of fuel right now I can use to get me through summer into fall, and I'm hoping I burn it all, you know.
One thing you want to know when you're blending fuel is the fuel base that you're starting with. Is it calculated by weight or by volume of the components that go together? And I think most of our fuel manufacturers give us the numbers, like PowerMaster, for instance, of by volume. But my son, who is a chemist, says the actual accurate way you want to mix chemicals is by weight, because
But yeah, it should be by fluid ounce.
yeah,
Yeah.
but well, he's saying that would be by fluid ounce is a volumetric measurement, but he's telling me that when he mixes chemicals in the lab, he mixes them by weight, molecular weight.
So I understand. Yeah.
I don't know, but we just go with what the common way of doing it. And the most common way for control line in airplane fuel is by liquid volume.
Right. You know, and for me, for my math, that's, you know, what I know to do. So that's what I've done.
Yeah. That's what we can see easier than having to get out a set of accurate scales and try to figure it out. So I don't know how far off it could be if you did it one way or the other anyway.
I don't know. I don't know. Your son could give you a pretty good ballpark on that, you know?
Yeah. He'll break out into a chemistry lesson and my eyes will glaze over. I'm an electronics
It's like you lost me after you got done with a half a second or half a sentence.
I'm an electronics guy, but only in a technician sort of way. Engineering technology is the name of my major. I'm a DeVry guy. I majored in electronics engineering technology back in the 70s.
Right on.
I would be the assistant for an engineer that did his dirty work for him, I guess. I'd probably do the soldering and all that kind of stuff. And cookbook calculations. They taught us cookbook math. They taught us calculus too, but not to the level that an engineer would know. And you go in the engineering forum at Stunt Hangar, and sometimes discussions break out that really shine the light on how many things a real engineer has to consider when he's developing a system or a product. So it's impressive.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I've worked with some of them, and in the electric field, you know, electrical engineers, and boy, I'll tell you what,
I
if
guess
I
you
was
could,
ever do it again, I'd like to do that.
yeah, I guess you could consider me a mechanics equivalent of the electronic world, you know.
Well, we're Mr. Put it
Mis-
togethers and fix
Yeah,
it's, and I've designed a few things and made them work through the years, and you know, been pretty successful, but now them days are over with.
yeah. I've forgotten more than I ever knew now.
Yeah, me too. Isn't that something?
I still do. I still understand concepts really well, but I don't have the ability to comprehend long strings of thought and assimilate them as they come to me. And you know, I start forgetting the beginning before I get to the end now. So I guess my brain's out of exercise, and I've, you know, just got age and all kinds of medical hits and that kind of things kind of dulled me. But yeah, life's more fun when you're dumb sometimes.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I talked to one of my doctors about the same thing you're talking about. I told him, I says, you know, I can't remember. My train of thought isn't near what it used to be. You know, I says, what's going on? And he says, well, it's, you got a few things going on here. One's your age.
Yeah,
And we can use that against it. But he says, another thing is when you get older, he says, your mind isn't clear like it was when you were 20 and 30. You have so many things in your mind going around and around. You're thinking about 15 things. You're trying to think about 15 things all at the same time.
yeah.
And he
If
said,
you,
so what happens is it gets cluttered. So, you know, trying to stay on that same train of thought, like you're saying, for very long, it's harder for us to do. And
when
I
you
said,
learn
well,
things,
you hit that.
when you learn things and use them all the time, every day at your job or whatever, you develop an autopilot, kind of like muscle memory, except
Yeah,
with the mind.
absolutely.
And so while running on autopilot, you kind of push the details of how you got there aside because you already know it works and you don't have to recalculate all this stuff every time. So that's just a natural progression, I guess.
Yeah, you know, but I do think that he was right, you know, in the sense that when we get older, you know, more responsibilities, you got a lot more to think about.
Yeah.
You got the whole world you're thinking about, you know, in all of this. And there's just a lot of things going on in your head that you're trying to keep straight. And it's hard because it's so cluttered.
Yeah.
And I was, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Anyway, I'm still having more fun than ought to be allowed, so I'll take it.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna try to go flying this morning, didn't go, and I'm hoping either tomorrow morning or Sunday afternoon I can go.
I want to
It
see if I
depends
can
on the
get out
wind.
this week. I think the weather's going to cool off. It's only supposed to be in the low 90s this coming week, so that's better than the hundreds we've been having. So I need to do some dry flying in the house and do some balancing exercises, standing on one leg and then the other, and, you know, balancing, because I feel like I lose that if I don't fly every day or every week at least. And so I got to kind of get the old legs back under me. But if I can do that without wrecking, I'll be happy. And then I can, once I get my legs back under me, I can pick back up to working on my stunt patterns.
Yeah, you know, me having all the spine operations that I've had,
Yeah, you've been through.
falling down's the worst thing in the world for me. And it don't matter if it's for my ass, my back down there, or if it's for my neck.
If you
You know,
can't bend your back in all certain ways, it's hell of a thing to stand back up without something to pull back up on, I suppose.
yeah, you know, because I got a big cage in the bottom of my back, right at my belt line there. You know, I got a big cage, and then I've got 4 discs that have been taken out of my neck. That's got a big plate in there. So, you know, my mobility up at the top and down at the bottom's pretty much gone, you know, because you're stiff as a board, but you can still make it work. You can lean over and, you know, and do some things still, but it's one of them things when I'm running around, if I have to run back to get my lines tight, that's what I worry about the most.
Yeah.
Because that's where I end up falling down, is when I lose my balance, tripping over my own feet because they're numb.
Doing the wind dance.
Going backwards, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just what we have to deal with sometimes, you know, and I do with it pretty well. It just, you never know when that moment's coming. I fell down twice in one day last year, you know.
Now, I've never actually fallen down flying, but I've stumbled a plenty. Now, Ken, back to when we were talking about fuel, Ken posted that Cool Power has burned up 3 of his engines over the years, and I can add a comment to that. I found the perfect use for Cool Power. I got 2 gallons of the green stuff, and when you are building a plane and aligning the wing, it's the perfect thing to set on the table sideways and prop your wing on to hold each side of the wing the same distance off the table while you straighten, make sure your fuselage is 90 degrees. So if you got Cool Power, that's what it's for. In fact,
that's great.
Glue the cap on it so it can't ever leak out of there, and use it for wing alignment tools. That's what Cool Power's for. Endorsed by, it's got the Rusty seal of approval. Cool Power fuel and jigging tools.
Yeah, I always used Fox fuels, and I used K&B fuels for a long time, because when Mom and Dad had the business, they were big into K&B stuff.
That's right.
And I used to use K&B missile mist and 500, like, I mean,
Fox
like crazy. What's that?
Fox was Fox or K&B called the missile mist?
That was Fox. Yeah, missile mist was Fox, and then the 500 was 500 blend was from, you could get a 100, a 500, and a 1000 from K&B. I don't know if they even make fuels anymore now, but
I don't know. But did you see the video somebody posted a couple of years ago of Samantha Fish, a blues singer? It's a blues trio, and she plays lead guitar, and her guitar was made out of, well, one of them had a K&B fuel can that had been turned into a guitar, and one of them had a Fox fuel can that had been turned into a guitar. That was pretty cool.
I have never seen that.
I'll dig that up and post the link on here sometime.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty sweet.
She's a great blues singer, too.
Yeah?
Pretty easy on the eyes at that. But yeah, Samantha Fish, if you can remember that, look her up and see if you see them.
I'll have to see if I can find it. I'm going to write it down, see if I can find it. You never know what you can pop out of YouTube sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, Ken says he's seen me use the Cool Power for wing jigs before. They're in, actually, when I was doing the Walter Umlin wing jig tutorial, that's what I used.
Well, I do the same thing. I've got 2-gallon cans, but they're empty downstairs. And what I did was I put that real thin, it's like a 1/16 foam around the can. One deal around to where it matched the seam at the bottom, and then I put some tape on that, and then that's what I set my wing on, so it protects my wing from scratches or anything.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I set mine up, like you're talking.
Yeah. Well, are they empty? You can fill them up with water and put some green food coloring in it. So.
Yeah, and make it look like the Cool Mist. Yeah, I've got this fuel downstairs. I can't even think what the name of it is now. My son got a whole case of it from Tower Hobbies, and it's in the blue can, got 20% their gallons, and I was surprised it came in a 6-gallon case. It wasn't 4, it was 6 gallons, and I've got 3 down there plus one in my, about a half a gallon in my flight box. Oh, which reminds me, flight boxes. I want to talk to you about that. And then I've got this other gallon that's probably 3/4 for my car, which I could use the same thing in my car if I had to. But, you know, the other day I was watching, whose video was it? Oh, it was Charles' videos. You ever seen any of his videos he's posted?
I've watched a few of them, yeah.
Well, I was watching the one that he has these, I'm trying to remember what airplane he was flying. Anyway, it shows his flight box, and he's got one of them flight boxes, you know, you can pull the handle out like a luggage rack, and it has the, you know, few drawers in it, I guess, with wheels. I'm going to set one up like that, because I'm still using a flight box, which I've used for years and years, that you just pack around. But boy, I'll tell you what, that sure saves you packing when them things weigh 30 pounds. You know, you get a bunch of tools in them.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a good idea.
I don't carry a battery, and I don't carry gallons of fuel in mine, but I've got a flight box that'll hold most of my basic cleaning liquids, a small container of fuel, and all of the tools, props that I might need for and starting equipment that I might need for a flight. And then I've got an old 3-shelf folding tackle box that I carry all of my other tools in case I really have to go to work on something. So rather than one big heavy flight box, I've got those 2 lighter ones.
Yeah, that worked pretty good that way. I just jam mine clear full of crap and tools and
I got a soft insulated container. I guess it was meant to be filled up with ice and beer, but it'll fold up flat if it's empty. But I keep my fuel, paper towels, tall can of zip ties, and rags inside of that, and my starter motor if I, you know, take that. And so actually I've got 3 things I can carry, but depending on my needs, I take one or more of them from the car to the flight line.
Yeah, well, we hope that, you know, we got our lines and our handle out there and some rags and cleaner and, you know, the battery and our glow plug igniter, and hope that's all we need, you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't even have to change a prop.
I wear cargo pants, and I have, you know, I got the 2 regular pockets I can jam my hands in, and then I got the 2 folding pockets on the sides. And so I keep my main glow lighter in my right hip pocket, and then I keep my spare glow lighter in my bottom folding pocket. On the other side, I got a prop wrench, you know, one of the little cross wrenches, and well, my chicken stick stays in the same pocket with my glow igniter. And so I got a place for everything like that. So when I get out of the car, before I even start taking my planes to the line, I put all that stuff in my pockets. So when it's time to fly, you know, I've got everything I need right there, plus a spare igniter. So that's what I like about the cargo pants. They make it convenient to do that. You just got to remember to wear your belt, or your pants might fall down.
Yeah, really. Yeah, another thing Charles was using, which I haven't used through all the years, is a little fanny pack. You know, put some of that stuff in.
That's a good idea.
You know, that's a pretty good idea. A little teeny fanny pack. You know, you can carry a few things in that. You know, it's like, dude, that hits the spot. It's a lot better than throwing your stuff on the ground.
If you need, like I've got one engine I need to carry a priming syringe for, that would be a good place to put that. So if it leaks, it doesn't leak down your, drip down your leg inside your pants. Just drips down the outside of your pants. And another thing, we were talking about planes catching on fire the other night. Wasn't that you that had his brand new plane on fire? And I always carry carry a good long rag hooked in my belt, and partly for drying my hands, partly for wiping goo off the planes between flights, and partly for putting the fire out if one should develop. And,
Yeah.
Hopefully I wouldn't let it get so dirty that it became fuel rather than an extinguisher, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good idea to always have a rag when you're on the flight line.
Yeah, I've always got one. I usually have one in one of my back pockets, and that's mainly for, like when you just feel like you're getting a little oily on your hands. I like to wipe my hands. If it gets very bad, I'll squirt them down with my cleaner and then dry them off.
Yeah, me too. Even acetone, that's a good quick cleaner. Probably not good for your skin, but I've been known to let go of the handle before. Yeah, it's always a good idea not to get too greasy.
Yeah, I've been lucky. I've never lost a handle.
That's how
But
I broke my twister wing.
Is that what broke the twister?
It is, yeah, because my right hand gets numb after a while, and I got carpal tunnel. I need to get it worked on. I could probably have it fixed. Anyway, yeah, sometimes if it starts to slip, I don't realize it's slipping. And I was flying the twister one day, and I was still working on trim. And so I had made it a little tail heavier than I'd ever flown it before. And it was pulling nice and hard, and my fingers started getting numb. Well, I was doing repeated loop after loop after loop after loop. I was doing repeated vertical eights, actually trying to get the top and bottom loops the same size, because I was turning tighter insides than outsides. And all of a sudden it came loose. And the next thing I knew is it was hanging on my wrist by nothing but the lanyard. And it was up there turning loop after loop after loop after loop. The size of a beach ball. Thank goodness it was tail heavy, or it would have probably grown the loops and then hit the ground. But I reached out and grabbed the handle after I got my wits about me, put it back in my hand, only I put it back in my hand backwards. So down was up and up was down, and that didn't work out too well. And I'm really disappointed that at my level of skills as a pilot, I couldn't compensate in time to get the motion right, just to level it off and fly it flat without wrecking it. But I plowed it even after I got the handle back in my hand. So yeah, that's how I broke the twister wing. That was back in November, I think, right before I blew my neck. So I spent all winter putting that wing back together, and it's ready to. I've had it out now. I haven't flown it yet because of other problems, but I let Wayne fly it, and he got it trimmed for me. So next time we go flying, I'll be ready to fly that, and I'm hoping that's going to be this week.
Well, you talk about things that you disappoint yourself. Don't let it get to you. One of them things. It's like, I still think back when my kid was small, and when I had that blob of crap and glue on my platform for my bell crank and my super chipmunk, and that caught on there. And, all I had to do was just pop the handle a little bit, and that would have come undone, because I've flown that airplane quite a few times. I never had that happen. And somehow that got jammed up on that rod. And if I would have just gave that a quick yank, it would have come undone.
Yeah.
And then I could have saved the airplane and then cut a hole in there and find out what the problem was. And I'd have seen it was that blob of glue, drop down on there when I was putting the planking over the ribs. But, I think I've flown enough to where I shouldn't have panicked and just stood there, and watched that airplane go in. I still think about that today. It's like, I don't know why I panicked,
Yeah. Just have a rush of dumb come over you sometimes. Yeah, we got a new member checked in. His name's Ron Haas. I think that's how you pronounce it. Says he's been watching for a couple of months. All right. Welcome, Ron. Tell me if I pronounced your last name correctly. Haas is how I said it. Haase, 2 A's. But anyway, welcome. Join up live if you can. You just got to be logged into Google and have a mic and a camera set up. We got 11 viewers. All right.
Wow. You know, and still the easiest way to get in is to go through YouTube and click on the link that you post up there, and it comes right in. I can do it off of Stunt Hanger, but it's still easier for me to go through YouTube
Yeah. Everybody's not
and
a
then
member.
drop YouTube once I'm in. You know?
Yeah, everybody's not a member of Stunt Hanger, so the notifications on YouTube is the best way, alternate way. And I just posted the link again so that it's visible to everybody.
Well, I did get my what do they call them? Easy locks a couple days ago.
They're blurry. Hold them still. Let me click you up on that.
Can I hold them still?
Yeah. Okay. Focus, focus, focus. Are those threaded inserts?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
But
they're away a little bit.
Let me show you the back of it. Maybe it can help. Maybe it'll. They've got an outside thread that's really a coarse thread for
razor sharp thread too.
Yeah, they thread themselves into the wood. You drive them in with an Allen wrench.
Yeah.
And
it's got an Allen drive on top of it.
Yeah, and you drive it into the flange, and then you're done. And then they're quarter 20 threads. But I'm gonna also get some that are 440s and 632s and 832s.
Yeah, and I've never seen a 256. I can't seem to find those, but the
I don't know.
The Dubros I use, you have to use a bolt and a lock nut, or just a short bolt. But that would be handy to be able to drive it in with an Allen key, because you can just pull the driver out when you're through. But when you put a bolt and a lock nut in, you got to break that bolt loose, and sometimes it'll want to back the insert out too. So usually what I do is I thread it all the way in, and once it's where I want it, I give it a quick snap, and then it'll turn loose. But sometimes it won't, so I have to wait until the next day. And I've even gone so far as just to be on the safe side to take a soldering iron and heat my Allen driver up that I drove the nut in with, to make sure I get the glue, if there's some on the threads, loose, and then pop it out. But I usually put a little Vaseline around the shoulder of the bolt too when I drive it in. But Great Plains has a screwdriver slot, just a standard screwdriver slot. But I'm not too wild about that. That's hard to drive straight. You could get crooked with that easy.
But you know, on some of these, on your maple blocks, I think the insert's going to be a good way to go. You're doing now, aren't you? Aren't you using inserts for some of your motor mounts?
For some of them, I do. Yeah, I've been doing that for quite some time now. That's how my Yak 9 is with the Fox 35, and that's how my twister is now, at least half of it. I had two blind nuts, T-nuts, go bad in there, so now I got threaded inserts to replace them. And that's how I'm going to do my P40 and my Cardinal. And I'm going to do one or both of those with bar mounts too.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some inserts like that too on my next ones. I just like the insert idea.
Yeah, epoxy them in, and I think it's a good solid fit.
Yeah, the thing is it's clean. It's clean, you know, when you get done, and
they're strong. You won't strip them like you will a T-nut. And you strip a T-nut out, it'll piss you off, especially if it's buried behind doublers like my noise are. It's not like they're accessible from the other side of the fuselage, you know. So you can't take them out and replace them if you got them covered with doublers, not without doing surgery. But yeah, that's also how I like to mount my fuel tanks. But I was looking for some 256 size to mount fuel tanks with, but I can't find any 256 threaded inserts. Not at my places.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that makes them either, but I'll have to do some checking on that and see if I can find some. If I can, I'll let you know, because I would be interested in even having some of those myself too.
Do you spend any time surfing Stunt Hanger, reading posts?
You know what? I haven't. You know, where last week you know, I just barely got to where I could get in there.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
there was a post on there today, right when I was going to look up installing bar clamp type motor mounts, and I just coincidentally hit on a thread in the unread threads portion, and it was a question about grades of aluminum for making beams, which I don't make aluminum beams, but I do want to make an aluminum bar clamp, and so I was able to get a good link to a place that sells short pieces of reasonably priced aluminum of whatever hardness you want, from the plain old what is it, 6061 that everybody uses for general purpose stuff, just the harder materials that's stronger. And so like for $4 you can get a 12-inch bar of 3/8 inch thick square, or rectangular, about 3/8 by 5/16 or something like that. And so I'm going to look into that. I think for $5 for a 12-inch bar, I can make several motor mounts. So if I find out that's a good place. I never did find out what their shipping was, but it's in the US, so I'll be sure and tell everybody about that when I get the lowdown on it, because I'm going to have to buy some of that bar, and I don't trust the stuff you get at Lowe's. It's probably 6061 aluminum, but they don't say anywhere, and nobody that works at Lowe's knows what the hell it is. So
yeah, they wouldn't know either. Yeah, the best way to do it's to buy it from these metal manufacturers, you know, like Ryerson or somebody like that. You know, that's their deal, because you'll know what it is, and you can count on that's what it is when you get it.
Yeah, I just popped up my history. I'm going to scroll through it quick and see if I see where I was, but I've hit so many things since then. It's probably 3 feet down the list. Let's see. Oh, well. No, I don't see it yet. Oh, I hear myself talking in the background a little bit, but not a problem. Well, I was looking at something on Google Maps a lot. Oh, well, I'm making dead air right now. Oh, on my onlinemetalstore.com. www.
Online metal store, huh?
Let's see. Onlinemetals.com. And you can, bookmark that and take a look. That might be a great place to buy. And they sell assortment packs too, which is great. And they sell more than just bars. They sell every different type of metal, you know, copper, brass, aluminum, whatever, and every different type of shape, even tubes and stuff. So I'm going to definitely look into them. Yeah, I see the last thing I was looking at was a 0.25 by 0.5 inch piece of aluminum, and so that'll work for my bar mounts for $5, 12 inches, not bad.
Yeah, you know, shipping's probably only $4 or $5 if that, anyway.
That's what I'm hoping.
I got some metal bars around downstairs that they're 5/8 square, could be 3/4 and 3/4 round bar, and I got them both at I got 2 each that are a foot long, and I got those, and that's what they're for, is for turning out Venturis. And I'll cut them up, make Venturis out of them.
Yeah.
Sure be nice to have access to a mill.
Oh, wouldn't it though?
Man.
And I don't have the knowledge to properly use one, but I damn sure could learn.
Yeah, the thing is well, I run a lathe when I was 1978 in the summer, learning how to grind crankshafts and machine and stuff. And I learned enough to where I can handle a lathe pretty well, but I've done some mill work, but not that much either. Boy, they're sure nice for doing stuff and indexing, and
yeah.
Oh wow, they have their place, man. But I'd like to have a little mini one, little mini lathe with a little mini mill, us guys that do work like this, small things and want to do small stuff, it'd be cat's meow.
Another thing I'd really like to have that I have never used is a router.
Yeah, I don't have a router either. My brother's got one, and he's got attachments galore. And boy, I'll tell you what, they are nice tools, but I just never have had one.
Were you on here the other night when Tom Parisi showed us how he routed out the rear of the fuselage on his airplane? I don't know if it was, I don't think it was the Bastard. Maybe it was the Stuka. I don't remember, but it was one of his recent planes. And so he routed it out, but not all the way through, and then put some, I think the right term is geodetic braces in it to stiffen it, but at the same time lighten the weight.
Oh yeah, I was too here. Yeah. Yeah, I just wish I had tools to do that stuff, but
yeah, Ken Colbert concurs.
But anyway, well, I gotta drop my headset for a minute. I need to go outside and change my water and bring my dog in, but I should be back in just a couple minutes.
All right, well, I'll sit here and either make dead air. I can't believe nobody else has joined us yet.
Yeah,
we got 10 people watching us, so we're good with that.
Yeah, maybe we can get somebody else to drop in the meantime. Yeah. I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, hey, all you watchers, y'all bear with us for a minute. I'm going to get me a shot of cold, refreshing Coca-Cola and then come right back and try to think of something to kill the dead air with. But meanwhile, stay tuned. All right, coffee in one hand, Coke in the other. I'm all better now. Yeah, a cigarette in between. I wish Sparky would jump in and talk to us, but I don't know if he's at home where his workshop is or not. But that's always interesting when he's building and broadcasting from his shop. And that's what I ultimately would like to do, but I don't have a computer in my shop, and I can't pick this big old PC and everything and walk out there and hook it up. But I'd like to be able to work and talk at the same time. Not that I could pass along the kind of information that Sparky does, but it'd be something different, something interesting. Ron Haas tells us, bought my lathe years ago for $200, and now they're $700 at Micromark. Wow. I watch a guy sometimes, AVE is the name of his channel. He calls himself Bolter, and he's a machinist. I think by trade he's a machinist, but he's got a pretty good outfit in his basement. Looks like his basement workshop. He's up in Canada where everybody, I think, has a basement. And he does lots of evaluations of power tools and about anything his viewers send him with ideas for things to tear apart and look into. And he's really knowledgeable about how things are made, what the materials that they use are, and evaluating whether they're engineered for obsolescence or engineered to last. You can guess what most modern stuff is, and of course he'll compare the stuff you get at Harbor Freight, and evaluate whether it's adequate for home shop use, are actually good enough for contractor use. And hey, what if you go buy contractor grade stuff? It's way overkill for what we need for building toy airplanes. But AVE Bolter, BOLTR. If you look that up on YouTube, and he's kind of a funny guy. He's got a vocabulary all his own. He uses words like scoojums, and this thing's got schmuck. Yeah, I don't know. You got to get used to him. Once you get accustomed to listening to him and understand what the hell it is he's saying, he's actually pretty funny and really knowledgeable and fun to watch. And he evaluates all kind of stuff. He evaluates kitchen appliances once in a while, and you know, he understands the motors and electronics that drive them, as well as the materials that they're made out of. So check that out, AVE Bolter. And I've got a list I wrote down of some other interesting machinists. I mentioned him one night on here, and one of you guys that were watching posted several interesting machinist websites, and I wrote them down in a notepad file, and so I'll go through that and look them up sometimes and see what's going on. There's some good woodworking sites that are a lot like that too. You know, I've learned a lot just from watching woodworkers, which is something I've always been able to work with metal and turn around and try to build. If I tried to build the same thing out of wood, I'd totally botch it. I don't know why. I can't seem to build a square corner out of wood to save my life. But if it's made out of metal, I seem to be able to work with it pretty well, even given the lack of proper tools that I have. There ain't nothing harder on you than trying to build something nice with all of the wrong tools. And I inherited a lot of tools when my father-in-law died, which has really outfitted my work table pretty well. But there have been a few that I honestly did not know how to work. And over the years, I've gradually figured most of them out. But I got some good precision measuring tools. And I recently bought a protractor the other day that moves in a bunch of different directions, so you can transfer angles from one thing to another. And I was using it to measure the control throws on the twister when I was putting it back together, getting the flaps in the elevator measured. And so that's a pretty cool tool. I did an intro one night when I was waiting for people to come on, where I brought a whole box of things that I thought were good to have on your workbench, and maybe I'll do that again someday. And did a show and tell that lasted for about 10 minutes until the audience started trickling in. What was that, Wally? A big old shot of Crown Royal or something?
That's my
Pepsi
stuff that's going to kill me one day.
It might.
Well, guess what?
That might kill you one day.
This is my son's
might
twister.
kill you one day.
Yeah, this is my son's. You got a Fox 40 and 4-ounce tank, aluminum straps, putting it together. He did this whole airplane.
Those Foxes are kind of thirsty. Is that 4-ounce tank enough for it?
Oh yeah, yeah. This airplane does well with that.
What is that? I can't see the whole plane. Is it a Skyray or something?
Oh no, it's a twister.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's your square tips.
I see it now. Yeah.
Squared off tips. And if I remember right, he added an 1/8 or 1/4 inch to the flap. I would have to compare this to yours. But all I can tell you is this airplane really flies good.
Let's see if I can find mine here.
He was talking about it, and like I say, I don't remember if he did it or not. I know he was talking about doing it. The only way I'd know is to compare this one with yours out of your kit.
Yeah.
And let me grab a ruler, and I'll just measure it real quick, and then you'll know. I got to go over to my other Let's see what this measures here. Two and a quarter.
Let me take a look at my ruler here. That's how wide. What are you telling me? The width of the flat at the widest point?
Yeah, that's at the body there. It's two and a quarter. So if yours are 2 inch, he definitely added a quarter by quarter here to the front of it. I just don't remember.
I'm fixing to open up a picture of mine here, but we can't really tell from it. But let's see.
Yeah, you'd have to measure it probably on your wood. But anyway, that'll let you know. But I'll tell you what, this airplane flies really well. We're flying it with 10-4 prop on that engine. This is a top flight PowerPoint. He loves it.
Yeah, I use an APC 10.5 by 4.5 on mine. And let's see, screen share, application window. There we go, share. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, I can. Yes.
Yeah, but I can't measure it from here though.
Yeah,
So.
but it looks like it's the same thing looking at it, but you'd have to put a ruler on it to see.
Yeah.
If it's 2 inch, then you know this has got more. If it's 2 1/4, that's stock.
Mine is not. I can guarantee you, mine's bigger than 2 inches at the root.
Well, then must be 2 1/4 like this one is then.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm putting my thumb on my ruler right at 2 1/4, and that looks like what I got. So.
Yeah, well, that means that he didn't add any to this one, which is okay. But it flies good. I can tell you that it's a good flying model. It's good enough that I've got one in the box downstairs. Still in the plastic, ready to build when we ever decide to build another one.
Yeah.
It's really a good. The only thing we had to do with this, we had to put 1 ounce of lead in the tail to make it balance.
Luckily I did not have to do anything except different combinations of spinners and mufflers just to get it. I can make it too light or too heavy by just changing those things, the spinners and mufflers. So and by spinners, I'm also including the Dave Brown screw-on acorn nut.
Yeah,
it makes it nose heavy, no matter what muffler I've got on it. And in between is a Dave Brown aluminum 2-inch spinner, and then on the lighter side is the plastic Great Plains spinner with the aluminum backplate. And I can fine tune that with the spinners and make bigger differences between a tongue muffler and OS 762, 761, I can't remember. One of those tiny little OSs that's got the stinger coming straight out of the back, which I grind off and open up to 7/16 too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the fuel we're using. It's the VP.
Yeah, that's my brand too.
That's good stuff. It works good.
Yeah. Usually,
yeah, this is
somebody shows up at a contest selling it. Tom Dixon or Bob Krug or one of those guys. But Tom had SIG last time, but I'll buy either one.
Yeah, this is 15%. Yeah, the 20%'s in the car, so I would just soon stay away from using the 20%. But
I use 1022 here, but it just varies. It's wherever you are might be different. I know you probably need higher nitro, higher than I do.
Yeah, this fuel works pretty good for us. So.
paste our link again just to keep it handy for anybody that decides to join us on the live side. And me and you are holding down the fort pretty good tonight, though, Wally.
Yeah, this is funny. It says proudly blended in the USA by the mad scientist at VP Racing Fuels.
Yeah, that's a picture of the mad scientist right there on the label.
Yep, the mad scientist. That's good.
He makes good stuff. It's consistent, but the only thing is you never know what color it's going to be when you open it. There was a year or two ago, there was a whole rash of purple fuel, and the stunt hanger crowd went crazy about that. It's staining my plane. Now, if I was building front row finishes, I might complain about that too, but I don't really give a fly. I don't give a flying fuck about mine. You know,
I'll have to bring in my yak next week and you can see it, and you can see that thing has just been pounded to hell and back.
Did you see my yak hanging next to the twister in that picture I just showed?
It looks good though.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it doesn't have a hell of a lot of plates on it.
It still looks good. This one I got, it looks like it's been in the war 3 times and come back. You know, it's hound. Well, the thing is I used, when I put it together, I used the nylon hinges, you know, the fabric hinge, and then I used monocoat covering for the wing, and then I painted the body and the elevator steel section, and then after that I even spray painted camo green and brown on top of the monocoat, and I got the monocoat the standard, which the paint doesn't stick to, and now it's coming off, and it looks like it's an old warbird that's just gone through all the wars, you know, since the beginning of time.
Hey, that's what a warbird's supposed to look like.
It's rough, you know, and I bet I've glued that rudder on 4 or 5 times because running out of gas and have to land it upside down tears the rudder off. Now I got so much glue on it that it doesn't even break the rudder off anymore.
That's the only thing I've ever broken on my yak.
5 times because running out of gas and have to land it upside down tears the rudder off. Now I got so much glue on it that it doesn't even break the rudder off anymore.
That's the only thing I've ever broken on my yak. Okay, going gas.
Running out of gas, have to land it upside down, tears the rudder off. Now I got so much glue on it, but it doesn't even break the rudder off anymore.
That's the only thing I've ever broken on my yak. Hey, Gerald, can you stop your YouTube feed?
Tears the rudder off. Now I got so much glue on it, but it doesn't even break the rudder off anymore.
That's the only thing I've ever broken on my yak. Gerald, can you stop your YouTube feed?
Yeah, I think I've got it all sorted now.
There you go. That got it.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
What are you doing tonight, buddy? How's everything down under?
Oh, it's very good, thank you. I was just working out on the tractor trying to put the front end loader on it with my wife's help and my boy's help, and then came in for afternoon tea and thought, well, I'll try into the internet to look at how I should hook up the hydraulics on the tractor. And I thought, stunt hanger line's on, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I'm glad you dropped in on us.
Yeah, we seen you here the other night. You was listening, but you wasn't in.
Oh yeah, my boys had turned on the TV, and I had the computer in the with the TV, and I didn't want to unhook everything, and they were on their. They just got home from school and they were relaxing, and I thought I better not disrupt them, so I just carried on reading.
Yeah. Well, y'all are a big hit here up in the States. We always enjoy, and when you come on and we mention you once in a while. So, yeah, thanks for dropping in.
Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to stop in on what's happening elsewhere in the world, and it's full of a lot of enthusiasm seeing other people's models and what they're getting on with. But yeah, we're in our low season here where it's very wet and hard to get out and fly. but we're still hoping to get and fly tomorrow, which is Sunday morning here.
Now you're in the middle of the winter right now. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's very, very soggy underfoot.
What's the temperature like?
The temperature's not too bad in terms of if I pull off my little thing on the wall here, it says it's a nice, comfortable 60 degrees right now.
Okay.
That's nice.
It might get down to 40 overnight, but it doesn't really get that cold where we are in Auckland. We're in the north of the country.
Yeah.
So it gets really wet, and I can't mow our flying field. And we've got 2 circles that I mow with our John Deere tractor, but it's too wet to get that on it. So we go down to a local school where they've got very good drainage, and we can put gumboots on and still fly.
Yeah.
But trying to fly on our own field, the last time I did that, I just started pugging up worse and worse, and I fell over and landed back first, and I had mud all soaked through me. But our field's very wet, it's low lying.
Yeah.
But it takes probably probably September, October before it's sort of dry, and then November before I can mow it again with the tractor. I can mow it with the ride on, but nothing heavy on it.
We got a couple of pretty soggy fields in our area too. In fact, that's the only thing that saved a couple of my planes from being totally destroyed, because I have planted a couple of them nose in straight up to the lead edge of the wing with the motor and tank and everything underground. Have to lean back and unsplock it from the mud, and spray it off with some brake parts cleaner and fly it again.
Yeah, it's hard getting it all out of the Venturi, and it's got to make sure you've got it all out before you start it again, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. I used to fly a bit of control line combat, and they used to put a rubber sleeve over the Venturi, so when you pranged into the ground, it would fold back over the Venturi, stop mud getting into the Venturi.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And we were talking about air filters of different sorts the other night too. Chris Liggy, one of our regular visitors, is using Brewline filters, and they don't fold over like what you're talking about, but at least they've got a screen on top of it to help keep junk out of it. And I really need to get some of those on my planes, because I never have liked flying with a wide open Venturi, but right now that's what I'm doing. I tried rubber banding some pantyhose over the top of a Venturi one time and promptly sucked it into the engine. So I had to fight for it to get it back out of there. I finally, with a pair of needle nose, I finally got it all out. She was able to fly again.
Yeah, I had to take one all apart and take the back cover off of it and pull it out with a long pair of needle noses to get that stuff out of mine, to go through the crank, on that little.
In there. Mine didn't get all wrapped up quite that bad. It shut off before it completely digested it. Funny things happen when you fly in airplanes.
Boy, I guess.
The more you fly, the more things go wrong, I suppose.
Oh, man. Yeah, crazy things happen. Did you, have you been able to get any time to do any building or anything, Gerald?
Oh, yeah, my sons have been working on their models too. They had their school holidays recently, and they basically got two little showmen up to the painting stage now.
Nice.
And they're just a little OS 15, and they're a nice little model. I've built them before myself. My brothers built them, and I thought while they were building one, I'd build one as well. So, it's a little stunt trainer.
Yeah, this should be a good flying airplane.
Ring rat.
Sorry?
That looks a little like a plane we call a ring rat. The tail's different, but that looks like the wing on the ring rat.
They were cool. It was a local company in Auckland that made them, called Airsail. And they used them for many years, from the 60s on, I think, till only recently they stopped production. But like a lot of the control line stuff, there's not a big call for it in New Zealand. Yeah. And I was just going to use the little OS 15s, and I put a little stack muffler on them so you don't rip them off.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Some of them are set up with a remote needle as well, which makes it a bit easier. I'll put a remote needle on them so they can't rip the needle off too.
Yeah.
Now that's a 15, did you say, or 19?
Yeah, oh, that's a 15. Only 15. They're nice lightens and put a little model like that.
I like the way it's pointed backwards. So, yeah, it keeps you from breaking it off.
Yeah, and I've got another model too that I was working on, and this is a model here.
Yeah, that looks like a pretty tough old bird.
Yeah.
Gerald, your audio's dropped out on us.
Audio's dropped out.
There you go.
Oh.
It looks like about you're going to put a 35 on that one?
This one's a little model for a 15.
A 15?
Yeah, another OS 15 on this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I picked up the right one, I could show you. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Looks good.
And then the other one I was working on with my over here.
Man, you got a lot of airplanes in there, Gerald.
That's awesome. Wow, look at that one. Nice.
Well, whip it around. You can see some of the models in here. But some of my wife's, there's a Vico chief on the third wall. And that one's my wife. And the twin showman and a little colored old fish.
Yeah, I had been looking at that twin over your shoulder for a minute there. You got a couple of twins.
Yeah, well, that one's got 2 OS15s on it. And then a
Half
super
age guys.
Yeah, and then on the other wall over here, my wife's vicious profile stunter, and there's Skyray on the wall.
Yeah, Skyray's a nice tough bird too. That's a good trainer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
crap. You covered up your poster.
And then I'll just go around a bit more.
19.
Yeah, this is actually a Vault Vindicator. There's a third profile scale, and it's based on a Banshee kit. And basically, I just added the gull wing to it, and with a few tweaks to it, and then a couple of other profile scale models, and my brother's Hitmark.
That's a nice
Oh, it's the Acrobat, sir.
That's a good kit. That's pretty much what the chipmunk was come from.
Yeah, it was, my youngest son, 55, biplane, a bit heavy, but not bad at all. But yeah, it's
Hey, there's your poster right there.
Yeah, I saw it go by. Yeah, there it is. All right.
But yeah, it's my little den.
That's cool. You got a nice shop.
Yeah, thanks for the tour.
Let's, a lot of it's models I've built many, many years ago. I've got other models stuffed in behind.
Well, I've got my camera set up now to where I can drag it off 50 feet, but I haven't got my Wi-Fi working yet for my new headphone and I guess speaker and mic. I haven't got that figured out how to get it working. I got all the stuff to make it work. I just got to get it going. And then once I do that, I can give you a little tour of my place as far as the cord will reach on the camera, which is 50 feet, but 50 feet, I should be able to go. I'll be able to get downstairs where I can pan around and show you some stuff. take you to a couple of bedrooms I got loaded with airplanes. So I'll be working on that once I get there. I'll do some show and tell too.
It's quite good just to see how other people organise their workshop and ideas that they have.
Yeah, in fact, the matter is, I can show you what I got in this one bedroom. Right now, I can reach to there. Let me see here. You might get a little dizzy while I move my camera around, but I can reach into my bedroom here. Mother and I'm tangled up for some reason. I don't know what that's about.
Hello, James.
Oh, hey, Charles.
Hey, what's up, Rusty? What's up?
Hey,
What's up, Wally?
Hey, man.
Hey, Wally, how are you?
Good. How you doing, brother? Hey, I watched a bunch of your videos, man. I loved them.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I love it. I mean, we got some to talk about too here in a minute.
All right, sounds good.
I got some questions for you. You gave me some good ideas.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna go into this bedroom. So, can you see anything in here?
Just a white screen. Here we go.
Well, in there somewhere is my chipmunk.
Oh, I see the chipmunk. It's kind of blurry though, Wally.
Well, that's probably because it's too far away. I don't know how you'd focus this thing. And then across over here, that's my Magnum.
Wow, it looks nice. Again, it's blurry, but it's nice.
Well, when I get my Wi-Fi set up on my new headphone setup, I'll be able to go right to it. Then down there, that one there's my son Smoothie.
All right.
I've got one, but mine's black instead of the blue.
Yeah.
Is that
Hey, Wally, can you turn the bandwidth up? That would clear the picture up. Do you know how to do that?
I don't know how you do that.
Mouse up to the near the top of the view screen, and there's a thing that looks like a cell phone signal level. We'll click on that. That's your bandwidth. You can turn it up or down there. I got mine set on medium.
Well, I'm not even close to my computer.
Oh, well, that's all right. Just a suggestion.
Anyway, there's on the bed there is my score.
All right.
And then this one here, I don't know why in heck I can't even think of the name of that one. That's my legacy there.
Oh, wow, nice. Is that a Legacy 40 or the bigger Legacy?
It's the 60.
Really? That's score is so big compared to that, huh?
Yeah, it's the same size wing. They're both 60 inches.
Yeah.
If I remember right, they're both 60 or real close to it. But
I think the score is 54.
It's what?
I think it's 54.
The score is?
I think so. I have two scores.
Well, you would know then because you've had them. The Legacy is definitely a 60-inch wing. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
And then see my Chipmunk. That's a 54.
Yeah.
And that I fly with a 40. And both of those airplanes, the Score and the Legacy, have 60s. And my Magnum has a 60. And then my son's Smoothie there, he flies that. It's got a OS LA 46 in that.
Wow.
But the Legacy and the Score and the Smoothie there, those are ARFs. But the Magnum's a SIG kit. Of course, the Chipmunk here is also a SIG kit.
Right.
Which I have 2 more SIG kits for the Chipmunk, and I got 1 more for the Magnum, and I have 2 more for the P-51 that's downstairs that it's ready for paint.
Yeah, I have 2 SIG Chipmunk kits. unbuilt.
They're fun to build. It's a pretty good build.
Yeah, it looks like it would be. That's just so far down the road. My next plane is I'm going to build as a Thunder Gazer, and then I have my eyes on I have a Brodak United kit that I want to build second. And then I'm not sure where the Smoothie is going to come in or where the Chipmunk is. And I have a Shark 45 Jetco kit that I'm just going to use the wood for templates. I've heard the wood is not good for.
I like those Sharks. Those are good looking planes.
Well, the thing is that kit's old enough that it will. The wood is going to be just. I got a kit downstairs. It's the old Sterling kit. That's the Spitfire, the full fuselage Spitfire, and you build the wing upside down. And to tell you how old it is, the plans have shrunk almost a ½ inch.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so anyway, I've got to build it off of the. Well, I've just got to stretch everything because I know it's way short because it's not what it says it's supposed to be. The plans give you the measurement, and you put your measurement on there, and it's not there. It's that much short.
I understand.
So anyway, that airplane, I don't know when I'm going to build it either. And the thing is I forgot that I bought 2 of those kits, and my son has the other one at his place. He's down in my basement one day looking at all the kits, and he says, "Well, I've got another one of them Sterling Spitfire kits at my house." I said, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, go double check on that." So anyway, he calls me later and he says, "Yep, it's the same exact kit." And I'd forgot that I actually got another one of them off eBay and totally forgot about it. And I got thinking, I think, yeah, I did. I have 2 of them. So when I get to where I can show you some of my stuff in my basement, you'll think that this is some kind of a model store down here or something, because I've got a lot of kits down there.
I believe you. I know it's
but and my grandson says, "Grandpa, you can't die until you're 150." And I said, "Why is that?" And he says, "It's going to take that long to build all these airplanes."
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I know we shouldn't be able to die until after we finish building all our kits.
Yeah.
Can y'all see this shark? This is a nice shark by Charlie Reeves. That's him flying.
That's nice.
That's a beauty.
Oh yeah, I've seen it in the magazine.
Yeah.
I've never seen it in person. I'd love to see it.
It looks like it's soaking wet. It's so shiny too. It's a beautiful plane.
Boy, that's nice.
You know what motor he has in there, Rusty? What motor does he have in there?
What'd you say, Charles?
What motor does he have in that Shark?
I have no idea. I think it's probably a 60 or larger. I'm not sure. Are y'all seeing it on the ground here now?
Oh, hang on. I need to switch. No. I just see you, Rusty.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me see. That one's not sharing. I'll go back. Sorry, I'm a little clunky here. Let's see.
No worries.
Share. Application window. Okay. Share. That should do it. Yeah, that's Charlie's daughter fixing to launch for him. That's the same flight that I had a picture of a minute ago.
That's a beautiful plane.
It sure is.
It is.
Yeah, and Sharks is still very competitive. I mean, Shark 45 can compete, in open events and still do quite well.
Yeah.
I like that nose gear. Keeps you out of the dirt and everything. Keeps you. Yeah. One day I'm going to build one or a P-39 or something.
Yeah, I like the idea of a P-39. I've got one that I've partially built. I was building around a Fox 60. But I based it on, there was an air modeler plan, an English plan. It was for an 8cc engine. So they based it around a 50. And they had a very fat fuselage. They went more for a scale look P-39, the front look, and it's got a nice wing. Everything looks right, but the moments are a bit off, and the wing looks like it'll be carrying a lot of fuselage around, a lot of drag. But I'm still keen to build it.
I see you flashing my picture right there, Rusty.
Yeah, that's Mike Wald. Is that Mike Waldron in the background on the left under the canopy over there?
You know what? I don't know. It looks like him, but I don't know. We didn't meet there. I didn't meet him, but that was the best week of my life, with the exception of my honeymoon. That was really a fantastic week. I just felt so fortunate and blessed to be there. I was just so happy just to be there.
That's
That
awesome.
Tudor you're flying. You said you'd never flown a plane that was so little before.
Yeah, it was my friend's. That was my friend's plane. I didn't have a plane there for the contest, and when we was talking, I was talking about shipping my plane out there, but I couldn't find anybody who could pick my plane up in Pittsburgh and then drive me back to Carmichael, and also drop me back off of Pittsburgh and all that. So I didn't want to hassle anybody, so I had no plane. And my friend John Wright, he said, "But if you want, you can fly my Tudor 1." And I said, "Sure." So I'm there at the contest. I didn't get a chance to practice. I just first time I flew the plane was in competition, and then I think that was profile, I think. And then the next day I flew it in what they call nostalgia. So that picture, I'm not sure if that picture is, I flew it in like 3 events, and I placed second in nostalgia in advance. And but I don't know what that picture, which event that was, but
Go back to that, Charles. Go back to that picture, will you?
All right.
Hang on.
Actually, it's
See if I can find it again.
I want to show you something on that picture that I was going, wow.
all right.
Hang on. It's about to pop up. Give me 1 second. And come on. Okay, here we go. There it is.
All
That's the
right.
one.
Okay, now this is something that caught my eye right off. This is really cool. Other than the fact there's 2 things going on there. One is, Charles, you and I are not little guys.
That's right.
We are big people.
Yeah.
Somebody can handle a 70 or 80 ounce plane you're looking at there.
Yeah, I can handle big planes.
Oh, I lost your picture. But what I was going to show you as far as the picture goes, I don't know why I'm not seeing the picture. I got it down there in the...
Oh, I see. Do you see it? Can you click on it now and see it?
No, I lost you.
How about now?
There you go. Now I can see it. Okay, now this is what really caught my eye right off, was look how high your tank is compared to your motor.
Yeah, I know. So you know what happened. So you know what happened when I went inverted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, plane took off. It was moving pretty quickly inverted.
So you was leaning out. Usually that's from a tank that's on the low side. It must be high. But anyway,
Inverted, it's low like this.
Uninverted, it's
That
low.
would lean out.
Makes it go lean. Yeah, it was my friend's plane, and I didn't want to change anything, out of just kind of courtesy or respect. I mean, the guy that actually owned the plane, he's an expert flyer, and so he let me his plane, and I just flew it as it was. But yeah, that was I was practicing with a plane that was 57 ounces, and then that plane weighs 32 ounces, and you see how big I am.
Yeah.
And, so I really had to finesse the plane, and I just wasn't used to finessing something, or else I would just pull it out of the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that
because when you're out there flying that big old Strega, I mean, it's like there ain't nothing for you to fly that Strega, and that's why I am. But then I watch Rusty fly the Magnum, which is, you know, about the same size airplane. It's actually a little littler than the Strega, and it's about ready to pull on that wing over. It's about ready to pull Rusty out of his shoes.
Yeah, it walks me like a dog on a windy day when I pull out the bottom of the roof. Now, when I started searching for pictures, is because we mentioned sewn on control surfaces, and I pulled out my yak, and that was about the time Charles came in, and we changed subjects. So on the yak, if you'll take a look at that.
I'm going back.
Can y'all see that? Okay, the regular hinge is on the flat, but look at the elevator.
Yeah.
And that's what my sewn hinge looks like.
Going on, yeah. Very nice.
And that's Dacron flying, Cox Dacron flying line. I pre-stretch it. I tie it to a doorknob, pull off about 15 or 20 feet of it, and just pull on it until I think it's too tight, and then roll it back up and sew it on like that. I always start on the inside.
I've never ever sewed on a control surface like that. I mean, I never have. I've always used the little nylon hinges, you know, that you can get. You go one up here, then it goes to the bottom side, and then the top here, and then it goes to the bottom side, you know, back and forth, back and forth. Well, the same thing you do there, but you sewed it.
Right. You know, I sewed, I had a flap outboard, one of my flaps on the score, the outer hinge, it was, I didn't build the score. It was built by another friend of mine, and he used the hinges, I guess, that came with it. It was those Dacron hinges, those small little things, you know, they're not the nylon. Anyways, just from going back and forth, you know, eventually it broke, it tore, but the problem was, it was just the last one on the outboard, not outboard, but the outer part of the wing. And so my friend said, well, why don't you just sew on, just repair it with the stitch in it, you know? And so I used some dental floss, and
yeah, that's
I don't know if it was waxed or not waxed, but I used dental floss, and I just sewed on the that one you know, flex point with this stitching. It held up.
Yeah, I get that stuff's strong.
It's self-gapping too, so you get almost no leakage through your hinge line, but it's still extremely free moving.
Yeah, yeah.
And for an old plane like that, old time Stunt or the classic old planes, I think it looks period. You know, got the Fox 35 on one end and sewn surfaces on the other. So
right, absolutely, that's a good idea.
Hey Gerald, what you got there, man?
I was just saying.
Oh, it's one of them vibrators.
Oh yeah, great for slotting.
Yeah, and the other thing it's synthetic plastic. They use it for our licenses here in New Zealand, but it works really well for making hinges. You just cut it out to the width that you want, and you have quite a durable hinge. And then if the hinge does break, just slot it again. I'm going to use toothpicks to pin the hinges, and it works quite well. Especially works well when you've only got like 1/8 tailplane, like on some of the very small models. It works well because it you can slot a very, very narrow surface with it. And
I bought a cutting tool like that at Lowe's the other day and brought it home, and I was hoping it would fit right on my angle. I've got a triangular angle sander, and I was hoping it would fit right up, but I'm going to have to drill some holes and make a mount for it. But that's what my plan is, to use it for slotting for hinges, and I'll try it on some practice pieces first. But I think that'll be easier because I always I got tennis elbow, and when I'm slotting and working so hard like that, it always makes my elbow sore. So that'll be a big help doing that.
You know, I saw a really good idea Dave Fitzgerald showed in some magazine I read, where he uses a drill press, and then he puts a basically like a Dremel cutoff wheel in there.
Yeah.
And then he just raises the table to the right height, and then he just puts the stock there, and he just
push it up.
Push it against it. It's a perfect,
Yeah.
slot centered. The optimum thing is to have that hinge slot in the exact center,
Yeah.
all the way down in line, so it has no friction, and you have very loosey goosey
I
hinges.
did that on the twister, but I did it freehand with the Dremel, which is probably a dangerous way to do it. But
no, Wendy did it all the time. Wendy did it with a lot of practice. He would just tilt it down, and that's how I've done it. But you don't get an actually perfect nuts on right in the center, cut. But with the drill press, that's what I'm looking forward to doing in the future.
Yeah, once you get the table set, I was just repeating what you said. Once you get the table on the drill press set, you can just push the flap right up to it and go in. Every time, everyone's the same.
I was going to show you. I showed this to Rusty, but you guys weren't here yet. But this is my son's twister that he built.
That looks good.
Yeah, he did a good job on it. He flies it with a Fox 40 4-ounce tank and a Top Flight 10-4 PowerPoint prop on it. And, we was talking about landing gear the other night about making them longer and more forward. Well, we fly on grass all the time, so that's what he's got here. And he made it to where it'll, it's got the cushion there with the rubber band. Them are all oil soaked and gonna have to put new ones on before he flies it again. But it's a good flying airplane. This thing, you can do some crazy stuff with this thing. It's fun. Yeah,
Twister's a good flying plane. I learned the pattern basically with the twister.
Yeah.
I learned the complete Stunt pattern with my twister, I think. Or at least up until I did the vertical 8s. I think I crashed it a couple times during the vertical 8s. So I guess I finished the pattern with some other planes.
What was your problem with the vertical 8? Were you pancaking it at the bottom of the lower?
Yeah, I was pancaking at the bottom. And basically, I just wasn't at the very top, at that intersection, before you enter the bottom maneuver, I would give it down, but I wouldn't bring my arm all the way around. You got to move your arm all the way around, because if your arm is up here and you give it down, the plane comes down here, and now your input is different. As when it was here, I was actually down. But when your plane gets below your hand, it changes the input. So that's why you want to come down, so you keep that down. So after I crashed my best plane, I learned my lesson,
Seeing how I fly with my handle backwards, maybe that's why my lower loops are always too high in the vertical 8, because I always make a good first loop, but then when I come back around, this one's always too high. And being with my handle backwards than the way everybody else holds them, if yours is too low, then that translates to mine being too high, because I fly without following the plane, and I need to follow the plane better.
Yeah, follow the plane. Now that's one thing that I was watching Charles when he was flying is he'll use his hand to come up around, and he'll drive the airplane with his hand. You start out here, you do your loop, then you come up to your top vertical loop, and you come around, and then you come down, and then you drive it down, with your fist, but you're driving it the whole time. We fly a lot the same. We're driving our airplanes.
I need to work on that real hard.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I have areas I need to work on. I mean, today, I don't have a coach, but my friend who was watching me fly today, he was telling me about my outside loops and how I have a flat spot, at the very top on my outside loops. When I'm flying inverted and I do the outside loops, there's a flat spot on the top. So I need to, I have all my little tendencies, and I got to work on, and my loops were more like 50 degrees instead of, 6 instead of 45 degrees. They're a little bit big.
Judge told me I was flying flat bottoms on my loops. So yeah, I got the opposite problem there. A lot of stuff to work on.
Yeah, we do.
We're all the same. We all have things to work on. unless we're a
Yeah,
David Fitzgerald, you know, he can fly them outside triangles, and it's like, I haven't even tried to do an outside triangle. I don't know if I'd even want to try attempt it.
No way in hell I'm going to do that after I finish the pattern.
You see him in the finals there on that last day. He did his whole stunt pattern, and when he got done, he did 3 outside triangles that were perfect, and then he went like 3 or 4 more laps, and he was out of gas. It's like, what a way to end it.
You know why they all fly 3 outside loops after the pattern, don't you? Because after the pattern, you've got 3 twists in your lines.
Yeah. Yep.
And so they're untwisting. So
he's untwisting it. Yeah, that's right.
And there was, I've heard some rumor that there was entertaining adding that to the stunt pattern.
That might have cost him a point, but he still ended up in first place. It didn't hurt him.
No, it doesn't cost you a point when you do that. It's
after the pattern, you can do anything you want. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah. Yeah, some judges maybe might take exception to it, but it shouldn't count against you.
It is unjudged until you start landing. Then you better be behaving.
Yeah,
as long as you can stay under that 8 minutes, and you do a landing.
Have you flown, Gerald? Have you flown any competitive control line?
I did fly a competitive F2B in the past, but did it quite a bit in the past, probably back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Good.
I flew a Genesis. I flew a model that was based on Al Rabe's Must Stunt.
I love the Genesis. That's a beautiful plane.
It is a beautiful plane.
And then I flew a Sig Acrobat. A piece model later on. That's what the Acrobat turned into.
Yeah. Oh.
No, you made it 109. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, ME 109.
There you go.
Very nice.
Yeah. So a lot of my models are still going. I flew years ago, but I haven't flown competitively for a while now. I had problems with my health, problems with my bowels, and I thought I can't do it. I just can't stand there for 8-10 minutes at a time. But after a while, when I had the kids, then I was sort of forced to do it, and I just got more back into flying stunt. I recently entered a stunt contest with my little twin that's on the wall, just as a novelty. And I thought, well, if I can fly that in a stunt contest, I'll have a go, even if I just fly the novice stunt or profile stunt, I suppose you call it, just and see how I go. But I had an accident with a motorbike, and that upset my neck, and I couldn't lean back. The overhead maneuvers became very hard, and all of those things, you sort of think, oh, it's too hard, I'll just give it away and I'll just fly scale. But with my son's getting older and enjoying flying it, my wife actually flew competitively as well years ago.
That's cool.
She flew in what they call their sportsman event, which was I think it's similar pattern to what they fly in vintage stunt, and she enjoyed doing that. But she's been back into flying a bit more now. She's flown team race in the past as well.
Wow.
That looks like a fun sport, and I've never actually seen a team race up close in person, only on YouTube. But it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she flies.
Gerald, one piece of advice: never get rid of your wife. You keep a hold of that woman. That's hard. That's hard to come around a woman that likes to fly control line
and compete. Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, mine loves to go to contests and supports me at it 100%. So I'll settle for that.
Yeah, that's good too. Yeah, that's good too.
We're just trying to get our boys hooked on it because there's so many other distractions in this day and age for the youth. The computers and all the other games, and just trying to get them interested enough to keep them continuing on when I'm too old to fly, because we've got a real problem with younger people actually just capturing them and getting them into the stunt scene here, or any sort of control line is very hard. They're distracted by all the drones and just all the video games. So when you look at most of the people in New Zealand flying, the average age would probably be in the 60s, I imagine.
Yeah.
mainly
Well,
older people.
You keep them in it, and keep driving them into it. Hopefully they'll stay with it. And my son, both of them, they went out for a while. Of course, I did too. And then I came back, and then after they got it, they got the itch, and they both been in it now. And I hope that when I'm old to where I can't fly, that they'll keep doing it. Because
we had a bigger turnout of young people at the Nats this year than in a long time. I was told by some of the guys that went.
That's cool. Yeah, I hope. It's hard to get the young kids involved in it. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I fly with today. I flew with I think there was 4 of us, and one of the guys I fly with, he's 86 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, he's still very good pilot. I really admire him. I hope to be able to do something like that.
Well,
he was flying a combat plane today. 86 years old, flying a combat plane.
Wow.
Yeah, I was telling Rusty last night, I went out with my little radio control car, running in the dirt and stuff, and there was a pretty good bunch of us people out there doing that. And I was thinking, this is the way it used to be when I was flying control line. It's like now I go fly control line, and it's, with one other person or maybe 2, and it's like the days we used to go out and fly 2 or 3 circles, which we don't even have that in this town. We don't even have a circle 1 to fly in this town. I have to go to a ball field or a church or, somewhere where I can find a 50-yard square piece of grass someplace that I can fly on.
Right.
And the radio control guys, they got a 400-foot runway for running their radio control airplanes, but they could care less about a control line airplane,
Yeah. But when I've had some control RC guys come to our flying site, they're actually taken back. They cannot believe the the bottoms. They just
They have
not
no
used.
idea what we can do with planes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, why are you flying so close to the ground? I go, well, in a contest, the deck needs to be between 4 and 6 feet, and they're like, their decks are usually 100 feet high,
Yeah.
and then they're at least 5 mistakes high, where we're not even 1 mistake high,
We're 1,000th of a second from destruction at any given minute.
Exactly. Right.
And I talk to people about control line, and they can't believe we're still flying control line, and they say, well, all you do is go around there and go around in circles. And I said, nope. And I show them a printout of the stunt pattern. I says, and try to do that every time. Try to do 3 circles, try to do that with all of them the same. Try to go upside down. I says, it's hard enough to fly upside down and to fly 7 laps at 5 feet. It's hard. Rusty can do it pretty easy, but I can't. It's hard.
That is one of my
hard
points.
It's hard just with a piece of paper and pencil to draw 3 loops that are the same.
But you had a good idea with your marker out there, on your post that you made. That's a pretty good idea.
Oh, yeah. I use that when I get close to contests, just so I can kind of get my reflexes and muscle memory right. Mm-hmm. I haven't used it in a while. I'm actually overdue. I need to start taking those things out to the circle. It's just more stuff to lug on top of all the stuff I bring out in the first place. And but yeah, I'm going to start utilizing them again because I definitely need to. It's amazing when I use those things. It just blows me away how high my pullouts are.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing is your air is your safety, and you start getting close to the ground, it starts making you nervous, and then you start making mistakes. And like when I'm flying, I fly usually with my boys. They're both 6 feet tall, and I can judge my circle on, trying to come across their head when I come across. But the thing, Charles, that you got going that I really liked is that's your cones. I like your setup with your cones on your outer perimeter. I think I'm gonna get some and do that too.
Oh, absolutely. I have kids.
Sure, yeah.
I have kids walk in the circle. I mean, I've had kids actually walk in the circle, texting, totally oblivious to what's going on. So I just put all these things out just to make, hopefully someone realizes there's something they should be cautious about,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things. I fly by myself, at least once or sometimes twice a week by myself. So I have the cones, and then when I use my stooge, I stake the down line at the handle just in case something goes wrong. The worst thing that can happen is I'll just break a prop. The plane will never get in the air because the down line is staked in the ground.
Right.
And stuff like that. You got to just do everything you can to make things idiot-proof and as safe as possible. And that's kind of what I do. I actually love my stooge. It actually gives me no offense to anybody who's helped me, but the stooge gives me really good releases. And one thing that's nice about the stooge is that every release is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really can practice my takeoff because the release is identical every single time. Where sometimes, someone will, like my Nobler, I have too soft of a tail wheel on there. And so my tail end is just really bouncy. And so, someone, if they push down, doesn't take much, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
I could trip my prop, or sometimes people will turn the plane or they do all kind of stuff. But for the most part, that hasn't happened. But I broke my back a couple years ago. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the plane I was flying came in on me, and it almost practically crossed the circle. And I was trying to run backwards, looking at the plane, and as fast as I could go. And like you saw the picture of me, I have a pretty big upper body, and I just couldn't get my feet running fast enough. So I ended up flying myself inverted. And I told my friend I should have got 40 points for the inverted flight, but he said, no, you hit the ground, so 10 points. But I broke my back. I did a compression fracture.
Ouch.
A couple of years ago. And again, I'm not really sure if my line's hooked on a blade of grass. It was a tricycle landing gear, and I don't think the person was that familiar with the tricycle landing gear, and he had too much weight, I think, on the back of the plane, not enough on the front.
Right, yeah, you do have to know the difference when you're launching a trike.
Yeah, and so
like a Pathfinder or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm behind. That's behind me now. I'm in. I can pretty much do whatever I want now. I'm a little bit stiff, in the overhead 8s, but when I'm flying the plane, I'm so focused. I don't sense any restriction.
Cool.
But yeah, thanks for watching the videos. I appreciate your comments and your compliments.
Yeah, I liked your setup on your toolbox setup too. Rusty and I was talking about it before you guys came on that, I'm still running an old box that you pack around. And I was thinking just the other day, I'm tired of packing that thing around. I got to do something. So, and the other night, last night when we went running them RC cars, this buddy of mine had a setup like you have. It's got the wheels and the pull-out handle where you can cruise it around like it's a box, one of them luggage case deals. And it's either that or I got to get me a wheelbarrow because I am absolutely tired of packing my stuff.
Well, the reason why I had that big box is because that holds the cones, and I have it's a big cement paver. I mean, I'm kind of overkill. I mean, as far as safety, I mean, my stooge, I have these anchors, these 4 metal anchor nails kind of thing, and then I have a paver on top of that. And so in that box is the cones and the paver and some extra lines and handles and props and all kinds of. But the only reason I really use that box is really to carry that paver.
What do you use with paver? For the center mark? Is that your center spot or what?
You talking about the paver, Rusty?
Yeah.
Oh, the paver is just a weight to hold down this stooge.
Oh, okay.
It's a big. It must be 14 by 14, and probably about 3 inches thick, cement or concrete paver. And it's just weight. And again, I probably am sufficient with just the 4 anchors that I have to use the stooge down. But I just feel you just never can be too safe.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's kind of overkill.
You can get gutter nails about that long at Lowe's, and that's what I've got. But I don't use my stooge anymore. But when I did, I just hammered those into the ground.
Boy, I love a stooge.
I felt safe with that. But if you don't, you do what you feel like you got to do.
Yeah, I have some ideas. I actually have some images, some video images of my stooge and the plane, actually my strig, as a matter of fact, being launched off the stooge. And I just need to make some time to put them on the channel. But I got some pretty good video that I always wanted to show someone. Even I have some video footage of me just setting up. I show people how I actually set up my circle and the whole bit. Just I want to inform people and treat everybody like this is a football, and don't assume anything. So I want to explain everything.
Yeah. Well, next time we come on, I'll drag my stooge in gets outside in my shop, and I'll show it to you and show you how I made it. It's pretty neat.
Talking about stooges, it just occurred to me that I don't have to wait for a great flying day. I could walk across the street tomorrow with my little Satan and my bath mat stooge and put up a couple of flights. I might do that. If I do, I'll get the camera on it.
Fly it right out of that sleeve, off that table, and you're rocking.
See if I can stay out of the oak trees. That Satan's kind of fast for 35-foot lines. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, them are some cool videos though.
Yeah,
they are. I got to figure out how I'm going to get me a GoPro.
Those are expensive.
Yeah,
I just got I think I paid $100, maybe a little more for it, about 6 or 8 years ago. A Samsung point and shoot camera that does videos too, and a little tripod. So that works pretty good. In lieu of that, a cell phone with a piece of Velcro on it, so you can set it on a tripod somehow.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, you guys are still on, huh?
Yeah, we're still on.
I just joined them recently, Steve.
We got about a half hour to go before I shut us down.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I figured you might be off by now.
Not on Friday night. But
we've had a fun time already, man.
I missed all the good stuff, huh?
Oh, man.
We could recycle some of it, but Gerald's visiting us from down under, and Wally had been my main support when I started up tonight. We were able to keep it rolling pretty good with just the two of us.
So what time is it down there, Gerald?
I need to get out and work on the tractor again, but it's about 4:15 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I thought I saw sunlight coming in the window. So it's 12:03 a.m. here.
Oh.
Yeah, 9:01 here. PM.
4 o'clock p.m.
9:01 here in California, but down 4 o'clock in
I'm an
Australia.
hour ahead of you.
What day is it in Australia, Gerald?
Well, I'm in New Zealand, but we're on Saturday.
On
Okay.
Saturday? Wow.
Yeah,
Holy cow, Gerald. I see more pictures of your wife back there. Do not ever get rid of her.
my wife in the modeling room, sorry.
Oh, man, he has the coolest wife ever, Steve.
She flies and she poses and models.
Man.
And she competes too.
Yeah, competes everything.
That's a real supermodel.
Yeah, I was telling Gerald, don't get rid of that one.
On the stooge thing you were talking about before, have any of you done the thing that I did one time and I managed to tangle the stooge line around my legs?
Absolutely. I got a video of it. And
Yeah,
I
I got
put music to it too. The Wilbury hop.
I was watching one of Daryl's videos today, and he ties his line on one of the reels, and he tripped on that and went down, and it's like, holy crap. He said, "Oh, I just stepped over that damn stooge line."
Yeah, I got a guy wire on my stooge that I have to be careful and step over to keep on the little stooge table, so I don't tip it over, and I tie a rag on it so I don't accidentally trip over it, but I still do.
Yeah, I actually walked back about 6 feet beyond my stooge line.
Yeah.
So I don't do that ever again because it was terrible. I was just twisting and going around and around. I was gathering up the stooge line.
Your
and
ankles getting closer and closer together.
Actually, I couldn't even move almost, you know, so I ended up doing loops.
Oh,
I
man.
couldn't move anymore. And I was like, oh, man, this is scary.
Back when I was learning beginner with my shoestring, I did that, and I'm glad I got it on video because it's a hoot.
Hey, you guys got me going now. Hold on for a couple minutes. I'm going to go get my stooge.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that brings back a funny memory, Gerald. I mean, it's funny now, but what am I going to do? Because I could feel the tension. I could feel the lines getting tight around my ankles, and I knew I wouldn't be able to turn. And it was just, I was just so glad that, and you know what, I think I had a lean run too, so the flight was longer than it really needed to be.
I was kicking and trying to pop the lines. They were steel 018s, and I could not pop them.
Yeah, exactly. I had similar line thickness. Yeah.
Now, I could have flown backwards, I guess, but that was before my days of flying lots of backwards laps. So.
I didn't even think to fly inverted when I did it myself, but no, it just.
Yeah, I didn't think to do that either, Gerald. Yeah, I got paralyzed. I was like, what am I going to do? You know, I just started flying level and just kept going around and trying to think my way out of it. And then after a while, I just got to the point where I couldn't turn anymore. And that was so funny in hindsight. Yeah, I don't want to crash my plane. That's what my primary concern was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the opposite problem. I was flying on an airplane that had 50-foot, 58-foot lines. I had the stooge all set up. And I went to 63s on this other airplane, not thinking. Started the airplane, walked all the way out there, and I was about 5 foot from my stooge handle to pull.
Yes. Yeah, that's yeah. I've you know, I've had instances where I just would just stand there and let this plane stay in the stooge until it runs out of gas. You know, figure I'd be safe than to be sorry. You know. Yeah.
I went back and got it unhooked and put the nose down and stopped it, but then it's like I ended up having to get it some other stuff and tie onto the handle to get it back far enough, and I finally got it going that night. But I'm like, damn, I never thought about having an adjustable length on the stooge line.
Yeah, I have like a plumb line. You know those things, the spools, those plumb lines.
Yeah, that's what I use too.
Yeah, so I have a plumb line. It has a crank, and I actually will, you know, let it out the length so it is adjustable.
Oh, that's, yeah. See, I tied mine on a wooden handle.
Okay. Yes, I have the crank, which comes to I think it's called a plumb line spool. That's how I do it.
Yeah, the one we use now has got a metal cable on it because that plumb line stretched. And
right. Yeah, I replaced the line that comes with that plumb line device.
Yeah, so we end up going to the metal cable, and then we just got different all the way down it now. We got different like little knobs where you can grab it and pull it.
I got you locked in. Are y'all locked in on Wally?
Yeah, I see it, Wally. Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of.
That's made out of some 1/4-inch aluminum plate.
Very cool.
I made the brackets and everything, and then you just pull that pin.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ugh. Other than I got it stuck.
Like you pull the pin and the bars drop.
Yeah, and then you put your airplane in here, your elevators,
right,
your stabilizer. You can see where it's wore here.
Yeah.
And then it just pulls it down.
Yeah, mine's a little bit different than that. But it's the same idea. I like how yours is. Mine's up against the the stabilizer as well, and so those drop down and the plane just goes through it.
I just have on my
That's
stooge
it.
planes. I just have a loop at the tail wheel that I
Yeah,
put.
that's what we got
Yeah, and
too.
then I got long nails that go in these holes here. I just drive them long nails down.
Right.
And you can do like a 4-inch if you're going through blacktop, and then an expansion joint if it's concrete. Most of the time we're in grass though, so we use long nails.
Yeah.
And then this string here we've been using, it works okay, but it
Right.
stretches a little bit. My son's got a brand new roll of parachute cord that we're going to put on here. He said that stuff won't stretch, so it'll be better. But I really like the stooge. It works good. And I put the handle on, or I put the hole in here. This hole in here is just where you can grab it. If you need to handle it and carry it, you got something, a way to carry it.
I like that idea. Mine doesn't have that hole for the hand.
So that works pretty nice if you have to carry the thing.
I don't know if you guys are interested in seeing how I have my stooge. My stooge is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I can go get it if you guys are interested.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, Daryl.
Hey, y'all tonight.
Good. I was watching some of your videos the last couple of days. Thanks.
Oh.
I was just telling these guys I watched the one where he was flying and stepped over your stooge reel and landed on your head.
That was yesterday.
Oh, was that yesterday's?
Yeah.
I must have been watching that live.
Yeah, I put it on last night. Yeah, that was Dumbass of the Day award for that one.
That's all right. We got 10 or 15 minutes of conversation out of that.
Yeah, my ears are burning, so I figured I better come on and see what's going on.
Hey, you're in a different location.
Has anyone heard from Sparky?
Oh, I'm just in the
Nah.
lobby.
Hadn't seen him, hadn't heard from him.
I was wondering if he got into his new apartment and all that kind of stuff and got situated. And
Yeah, you were asking about that the other night too, but I have not seen him nor heard from him since before that.
His apartment. What happened to his house?
well, he's got his house, but he's got an apartment there where he works. I think by Dayton or whatever.
Dayton, I think that's where he works, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sounds right.
I think so.
Eating brandy beans chocolates. Who? There is definitely brandy in there. Wow.
Would you have a handful of them before you went out to fly, and that's how you fell over that line?
Oh man, I still don't know how to Jesus I did that. I took some extra talent, that one.
I'm definitely going to have to look that video up.
We all been there.
Last one.
We all
Yeah.
been there, Daryl.
Trying to hurry.
Well, I wrapped myself around the bastard before,
Yeah,
and it was only a 1-minute flight.
tie your ankles
Well-
together.
Well, I can't feel my feet, so I get tangled up in my feet all the time.
Well, this and this is a Kevlar cave. Remember Sullivan tried the Kevlar lines, but they're too thick and spongy. So I use that on my stooge. That thing don't give for nothing. Not even.
Nice strong. You can't pop them if you get wrapped up in them.
Oh yeah, I did quite the lip plant. The camera went. I had the camera on my head and everything.
Yeah, I was seeing that camera rolling around on the ground going, wait.
And the plane actually did a half decent landing by itself.
I'm glad you posted it. Some people won't post their mishaps.
Yeah,
Some
that's
people
what
won't
keeps their
post
ratings up.
stuff. Yeah.
Keep the ratings up.
I had a buddy that was walking out lines and he got tangled up in it and fell and ended up breaking one of his fingers and it cut him all the way down to the bone. But his lines got wrapped on his finger when he went down. Broke one finger and cut the other one. Well, cut both of them, but cut one right down to the bone. Had to get stitches. And
Well, back in October at the Huntersville contest, one of my buddies was flying in beginner, and it was really windy day, and he had to save his plane, and he reached out and grabbed the lines and pulled on them and cut his finger to the bone. He did that twice.
He just wanted to make sure
first time, you'd think after the first time maybe you wouldn't try it again, but
well, he better start wearing a Kevlar glove on his left hand.
Yeah, no kidding.
When I was a kid, I still got a little bit of scars from. I reached out in the 049, did a little slice and dice on my forearm, but it wasn't that bad.
You wouldn't believe what I did last week. I stepped on a number 11 hobby knife blade, and it got caught in my shoe somehow and got turned straight up, and I stepped on that thing. It went through my shoe and into my foot almost 5/8 of an inch.
Damn.
And my doctor's still in awe on how in the hell that could ever happen. At least my labs came back yesterday, said there's no infection in it. So things are looking up.
Good.
But man, I can't believe it. When your feet are numb like mine are for so much scarring in your nerves from so many back operations and neuropathy in my feet, you just can't feel nothing,
Hey.
So I'm forever tripping over my feet.
Here's Charles. I'm going to manually lock onto him. Y'all tell me.
Okay.
Does it lock on for y'all now? Are you locked on to Charles now?
Nope.
Damn. That's supposed to work, but it's not. Let me see if I've got it.
I can lock onto an individual. Or
Yeah,
when
but
they
I'm supposed to be able to force it for everybody, but it's not working. Oh, well. Anyway, got you, Charles.
All right, so this is my like plumb line for my stooge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can adjust it. It unwinds, and I think this is spider wire that I ended up using. So I have a wire going. So this is the outboard, right? So this is the lines on the other side. Let me see if I can show you better. So here goes out to the circle, all right? I'm trying to demo this well. So I pull that, and then this wire. When I have my plane started, I have it locked with a vice grip here. So I pull the vice grip off before I walk out to the center of the circle.
Okay.
And then when I pull the wire, these things.
Yeah.
Pull the whole thing.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I use a metal skewer, a shish kebab skewer for sort of the same thing on mine.
So here's the wire. And then when I first started flying, after I landed the plane, I had to go find this wire, right? So I got tired of it. So I put a length of wire on there so that it's always attached to it.
Right.
So that was something that I just developed out as I used it. And then I put my paver right here so that it holds it down. And then I have, let me put this thing back together here. So inside here is where I store all my anchors. So my anchors obviously would go into these holes here.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's kind of overkill with this and the pavers, but I made this off of one of Wendy Wanowski's videos. I had called Wendy and I said, "Do you have a video on how you made your stooge?" And he goes, "Charles, I was just reviewing it, because he has like 1,000 videos,
Yeah.
And so he found it and he sent me the video, and that's how I made it.
That's how I got the idea for mine, was watching his video.
Now, when it pulls, it pulls them at different times. That doesn't let the plane turn in at you.
When I pull it, I've been doing it now for I think I've been using this stooge for at least 5 years. It's never been a problem. I usually pull it pretty good. I yank it pretty good. I mean, I can't really, this string is really strong. And before that, I was using wire. And so I have no fear of it going anywhere. Plus, it's anchored, like I said, with the paver and these anchors. So I'm not going to pull it from underneath the plane. I can pretty yank it as much as I want. But now I've just got a good feel for it. I must have at least close to 1,000 launches off this thing.
I just wondered, since it released the outside one first.
Might turn in, yeah.
Turn in
it
at
doesn't.
you.
It like I said, I yank it pretty good, and I mean, I just haven't had an
Quick
issue.
enough that it does do that.
Yeah, but that definitely.
See, that's why I put the bar across here on mine, and your tail wheel's back here, and you know, when it releases, they're both coming down together. But I haven't gotten near that many. I've only had this one since last spring, since I built it, so it's about 1.5 years old. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have close to 1,000 or over. I just flew my Nobler today, and my Nobler has 180 flights, and in my Strega it probably was somewhere close to that, and then there were several planes prior to this, you know. So it's just I've been meaning to make a new one that, you know, I was kind of getting kind of aged, you know, just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I just use the Brodak stooge and I hook it up to the tail wheel.
Yeah, that's I'm a little bit leery of the tail wheel ones, just because, you know, the tail wheel could fail, you know.
Yep.
Not the way I glue them in.
Yeah, and you know, Daryl, I'm actually entertaining making removable tail wheels from here on out, just so that when I pack my planes in my vehicle, they're easier to go together. Not to mention, I'm hoping one day to make a take apart, so I can actually put the plane in a case and ship it by Greyhound or.
Oh man, that's a lot of work.
Or something. So I'm thinking about take aparts.
RSM has a few take apart kits.
Yeah, the Thunder Gazer plans show take apart, and that's actually my next plane I'm planning on building.
What you got there, Daryl?
Well,
What you got there, Daryl?
Yeah, he's got to take apart there.
Yeah, I've got a couple of models that come apart. The biggest problem is that horn, making your connection to that horn. And different people have different systems of doing it, but it's that horn, getting your connection from the horn to your elevator consistent, and so you can pull it apart easily and get it back together easily. And this model, I just use like an RC car horn. It's a bit longer, and I have a little linkage that I with like a little spring that holds it there. But that's the hardest part, is just coming up with a good system that's reliable when you've got a take apart model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got to go apart and be put back together multiple times and always be exactly the same alignment. So yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah. Same with this model here. You might be able to see inside the linkage that I use on this one, but it's it's got a little piece of wire that catches it to hold it in place. But that was part of trying to sort out the two peaks. The bolts and the mountings aren't hard. It's just the linkage that comes apart. But yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Gerald, are you using a one-piece wing on that take apart?
Yeah. Both of them have got one-piece wings, those ones. The first take apart one I made when I was very young was so I could take it on my bicycle. And then I had rubber band on wings. But yeah, you start somewhere, but I've always made take apart ones if I want to go on.
Well, see, that was my idea for if Samantha qualifies for the World Championship, that I got to make a take apart plane. And I was going to do a solid wing take apart. But I was going to drop, instead of bringing the wing in from the bottom, I was going to bring it in through the top and bolt it in, and then have the canopy section come off and be able to get in there and unhook the elevator.
Mm.
But I'm not real sure how to go about this.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that kind of take apart before. That's interesting. You know, Wendy has been making take apart planes for some time. Wendy Ranowski, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And most of his videos that you see on that CL guy on YouTube, most of his planes of lately are all take aparts. I think the last plane he built that wasn't a take apart was probably his Strega, and that was built in '85. So he has quite a few take apart planes.
Yeah,
I
I've been watching some of his, but the reason
bottom,
is that now they've made it smaller and smaller. How big of carry-on you can have on an airplane?
Yeah.
You know, it used to be that it didn't matter, and you could, you know, when I flew in Costa Rica, we had a damn huge ass custom-made chest and had 3 airplanes in it, and they took it no problem. But they just won't do that anymore.
Right. Wow.
Well, Wendy's last one he did that was really nice, that was really cool, was that Big Job. Did you watch them?
Yeah, I watched the Big Job, and I don't know. I thought that was kind of complicated, but I understand why it was, because he was having two-piece wing.
Yeah.
And he also was adhering to those things Steve was talking about, the constriction of the size. And so that kind of, makes it kind of forces the issue where you might have to have a wing be take apart itself.
Yeah, and, it's I mean, when you get to where you're taking your tail section off, you got, you're going to take your body and unscrew your body, back there behind the wing someplace. You're going to have a joint there, and then you're going to take your wing off, unbolt it from both sides, and then you're taking your nose section off. That's a lot of parts, and I don't know how they keep them from like being over 50, 60 ounces with all the parts and glue and everything else.
Yeah.
My idea was to take a full length wing. Well, and this is going to be one that's for a Staris, so it's shorter than like a SV11 and stuff, and it'll fit in a snowboarder's box, and then they're legal to take on an airplane. So the wing would be in a snowboarder's box, and then I had to have a take apart tail. That would go in the other one.
What's the wing length you're talking, Steve?
64 is the longest.
So you'd need a 60 wing to get, to where you got room to pad your box for a 64-inch box.
Right. That's what I'm figuring. I'm going to have to work out take apart wingtips. Unscrew the wingtips off it.
Wow.
And that'll short me up enough.
Yeah, that'd save you about 6-8 inches right there.
Yeah. So that's my plan. So now it's, trying to work something out. I'm going to do that, and then Chris Rudd said he's going to help me do a conventional take apart. So I'll have to get into
wow, Gerald, how about that wing?
Pardon me?
Here's
I was seeing
part.
Yeah, the problem is the wheels. Unless your wheels come off,
the wheels are easy now.
Yeah,
I'll have to do that, or I'll put on like the center on that Staris. It shows a carbon fiber center mount type deal. Fuselage mount.
I like that. What is it that Yashenko, where they're putting their wheels in? That's a detent system. I really like that setup.
Yeah, so I came across a website.
Who's that?
It's a wire you push in, but it's got a little groove in it. They've ground in it, and that goes in a detent system. That's got a spring-loaded ball, so it'll hold it in there while you're flying and moving your airplane around. But when you want to pull it hard enough, it will come out, and then the whole landing gear setup on that side, you got one on each one. So you pull that one out.
Who does that?
Huh?
Who makes that?
Yashenko Sharks have it. It's a nice setup, dude. Yeah, that's cool.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, check that out. That's a good setup for wheels.
Okay.
I saw a website that sells that detent system, Wally and Steve, but I couldn't tell you where the website is. It was a foreign. It was out of the U.S. and of course the prices was in their currency. But I saw that they sell that detent system that you can you could install into your wing.
Yeah, you got it. It's a plastic deal that is the female part of it, and it has the spring and the ball already pre-made in it, and then your landing gear leg it's not round, it's a flat, and it goes into it with that spot that's ground away that you push it in right to where the ball mates up with it, and then it'll hold it in there. Then you want to pull it hard enough, it'll pull out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look into that because I have to do a lot of building here real quick.
Yeah, do some checking in that. I think that's something you really think seriously using that. I would, if I was doing this take apart airplane like that, it'd have that system in it.
Oh, okay.
Well, guys, it's 12:30 Saturday morning. I think we're going to have to wrap it up for tonight.
Okay. I've got to see you Monday.
Yeah, we'll be here Monday, and I appreciate y'all joining us. We had a good time tonight. I think we had
we sure did.
We had good conversation from the get-go tonight. So hopefully,
hey Gerald, try to get on more often. It's good to see you.
Yeah,
man.
I will. I was out tearing around on the old motorcycle tonight, so I just got back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I figured I'd take a break from tripping over my stooge. So.
yeah, I'm gonna go look that up now, right before I go to bed.
Yeah,
right on, guys.
Daryl, Steve, Wally, everybody. We'll
see you, man.
on Monday. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, night.
See you guys later.
All right, see you later. Don't forget to join Stunt Hanger if you wish, and give us a like, and fair winds, tight lines. See ya. Good night.
See ya. Good night.